Okay, do I look cute or do I look like a... I kind of wanted to wear something that would resemble a corset, but I feel like this is okay. Not sure. If you love the new Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, or if you just want to hear a psychology breakdown of the movie, or if you're here to hear some psychology tips on how to get your crush to like you, then this video is for you, because in this video, I'm going to be talking about the new movie in the Hunger Games series, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the two main characters, Coriolanus Snow and Lucy Gray, and analyzing from a psychology point of view why those two were destined to fall for each other, as well as telling you guys how you can implement the same psychological principles in your life to get your crush to like you. Hi best friends, and welcome back to my sleepover. In this video, I'm combining my favorite lessons from a movie type of video format together with the series that you guys really liked on this channel, which was psychology hacks to get your crush to like you. Now, a little disclaimer, I know these two didn't really end well, but that's not because of anything that I'm going to talk about in this video. There's honestly a completely different factor at fault when it comes to that, which is an analysis for a different video. So don't worry, anything that I say in this video is not going to bring you to the same end as Lucy Gray and Coryo. Snow. And I'm not really making this up based from a movie. I'm just using a movie as an example to illustrate these things that psychology says when it comes to attraction. So just putting that out there for some of you guys who are going to be like, who does this girl think she is? She cannot just make up things based on a movie. Movie is not psychology. Babe, I'm applying psychology to a movie. And just using it as an example, this is an analysis type of video that is also going to benefit your life. So I'm super excited for this, and let's get into this video. First things first, I'm going to be starting with something that is a little more basic, and these are going to be getting less basic as we go. And at the same time, the last one is honestly something that I feel like is one of the biggest things when it comes to attraction, and it's a little controversial to the point where I feel like a lot of people will have a lot of opinions about it. So wait for that one and let me know what you think. But first things first, one of the most fun things in psychology, and one of the things that I feel like is so strange when you think about it, comes where, first of all, Coryo was assigned as Lucy's mentor, which meant that they would spend a lot of time together seeing each other, which Coryo even went out of his way even more to see her even more and spend even more time with her than any of the other mentors did with their tributes. Which brings us to the very first thing that played a role in their attraction, which is the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect in psychology is that basically we tend to like people more the more that we hang around them. That's the reason why some people, the more you hang out with them, the more they start to kind of grow on you. We can see this with Coryo and Lucy. The time that they spent with each other contributed to laying down a really good foundation for them being attracted to each other. So the way that you can use this in your life, if you like someone who you go to the same school with, university, try to be in the same extracurricular activities with them if you actually like the activity, or maybe even try to be in the same space with the person that you like more, because according to the mere exposure effect, they're more likely to like you more just by seeing you a little more often. And at the same time, we also like the things that are similar to us. And I know this kind of feels basic, but it's the most basic foundation without which honestly this whole like attraction pyramid that we're going to build wouldn't really be able to stand. These are like the baseline building blocks that you need to have, and to the point where in the psychology class that I was taking, the professor even said that proximity is the single biggest predictor of attraction. So do with that what you will. But let's move on to the second building block, which is that Coryo and Lucy Gray, despite being from different backgrounds, they shared the similar attitude when it came towards games, when it came towards winning, and when it came towards survival. You can see Coryo doing everything in his power to get what he wants. He wants the prize, so he gives a lot of ideas during classes. He tries to blend into the crowd that he's not really maybe a part of, but he's doing all of this and he's doing everything that it takes to achieve his goal. We see the same in Lucy, where Lucy is honestly playing the crowd when it comes to Hunger Games. When she's interviewed, she's trying to be liked. She's trying to work for the audience. The same goes when it comes to the arena and actually playing the games. Lucy does everything to reach her goal and survive. You can also see even Tigress point out the similarity between Coryo and Lucy when she talks to Coryo about him being assigned to mentor her in this scene right here.
Don't discount her just because she's district, Coryo. You might have more in common with her than you think.
So those two have this very, very important attitude thing in common, and something that's a big part for them actually match, which is really important because according to psychology, people tend to go for people that they find similar to them.
So you're an orphan, like me.
You can see this in the movie, and in your life you can use this in a way where if you like someone, try when talking to them to find the things that you guys match on, where you guys have the same opinions about something. Now, don't lie about your opinions, just try to find the similarities and point that out to them, like, oh, that's so cool that you like the color red, me too. Honestly, that was so basic, but you get the idea. But going back to Hunger Games, one more thing that the Hunger Games did for Lucy and Coryo is that it was a shared experience between the two characters. They had to figure out together how Lucy would survive in the Hunger Games, and it gave them this shared goal, this shared experience, and this thing that was only between the two of them, which we can also see later down the line in the movie where they have this secret shared space. That's again another shared experience that is only between those two, so it feels like they have something special. Another thing that created similar feeling was at the end when they were the only ones who knew about the murder and the murder weapon, which also created another shared experience between the characters, which according to psychology, having shared experiences that put those two people together and only those two people can kind of understand brings people together and makes them more attracted to each other. So this is another thing that played a big role in Coryo's and Lucy Gray's story. The way that you could use this in your life is as simple as if you guys are taking the same class and maybe you guys have to deal with a particularly boring teacher in that class. When you guys are talking, you can be like, oh yeah, like wasn't it so bad when he just held us back 10 minutes after the lunch break began? I hated that so much. That points out a shared experience between you two. Or even if something funny, if something weird is happening during the class and you tend to be near each other, kind of look at this person and give them like a knowing look, like, oh my god, yes, this is so annoying, he's really holding us back 10 minutes after the bell rang. You could also try to be in the same group as your crush during a group project, be on the same team in sports, or any way that you can create a shared experience between you two. But even though these building blocks are pretty good, a really important thing and one of the most pivotal moments that I feel happens in the two characters developing feelings for each other, and where honestly when watching a movie I felt like that was the moment that Coryo kind of realized that he liked Lucy Gray, was when after the bombing of the arena he woke up in the hospital and he realized that she had saved him. She could have run away, but she came back for him and she saved him, which honestly illustrates two things, but I'm going to talk about this one first and I'm going to talk about the next one with the last like kind of controversial point that I make because it goes into that one. When Lucy saved Coryo, what it showed to him was that she also cared back about his survival. It wasn't just him trying to make her survive the arena, it wasn't just him trying to make her win the Hunger Games and keep her alive, it was also her saving him. She was also trying to keep him alive. And this shows the principle of reciprocity, which is that we tend to be attracted to people who we feel like reciprocate what we give to them. So Lucy showing Coryo that she honestly did care about him triggered this, and it made him realize that he might actually have feelings for her. Some ways that you can implement this in your life is to do a small favor for someone, or if you like someone, you know how some people tend to act the opposite way and act like they hate the person or be super mean to that person. Don't do that. Just be genuinely nice to that person and that person is more likely to reciprocate it. Sometimes it's not bad to kind of a little bit hint that you like someone, because we tend to like the people that like us. And speaking of the bombing scene and the Hunger Games that these characters had to go through, there were a lot of high stakes and a lot of adrenaline involved when it came to the interaction of Coryo and Lucy Gray. First of all, they didn't even know if they would survive. There was the danger in the Hunger Games, and there was hiding in secret spots. The whole fight scene that happened at the club when Coryo first saw Lucy after the Hunger Games, all of those situations tend to produce adrenaline, and adrenaline when produced tends to speed up the bonding process. That's why so many people in those dystopian novels tend to start liking each other so fast, because there's always adrenaline involved and that makes you more attached to the other person. Have you ever noticed that the relationships that are a little more intense, or maybe they happen during a very intense period, or maybe you guys had to go through some kind of intense experience together, you tend to feel closer to that person? That's because of adrenaline, and we saw this in Lucy and Coryo a lot. So honestly, these characters were honestly meant to fall for each other, with all these things aligning so perfectly together. But the way that you can use this in your life is by, if you're going on a date, if you're seeing your crush, or if you're going somewhere, you can watch a scary movie, you can go to an escape room, you can go to an amusement park. All of those situations are going to raise the adrenaline in a safe way, and it's going to make it more likely for you guys to bond faster. But here's a disclaimer that I need to put out with this: if the person is very anxious, or if the person kind of hates anything that involves adrenaline, roller coasters, scary movies, then this is probably not the tip for you. But moving on to the next thing that we saw in the movie that honestly made the characters destined to fall for each other was this thing that is a little hard to mimic in real life, but I feel like it's so interesting to look at from the psychological psychological point of view. And I immediately noticed this when I was watching the movie, and that's where honestly the whole idea for this video came from, because it reminded me of this lecture in one of my psychology classes. But basically it was the scene where Coryo is sitting with his grandma, and his grandma is like, this girl doesn't care about you.
You're just lucky that your songbird didn't peck out your eyes too.
You should be wary of her, and basically you shouldn't be with her. While this might seem like a pretty bad thing, it actually works in the opposite way by triggering psychological reactance. When Coryo's grandma tells him that she thinks that him and this girl are a bad idea, this unconsciously feels like she's limiting his freedom. So as people, we tend to do anything to preserve our freedom, so it's going to trigger the opposite reaction where he's going to want to be with Lucy Gray even more, because subconsciously that's the way that he's protecting his freedom. This happens all the time in life. Sometimes when you're not allowed to eat something, you just start to want to eat that thing even more. And another thing that triggered it in their interaction was Coryo being sent away, first of all, to District 8. It was again having the same effect where it feels like they're just being separated, and that feels unfair, so he would want to fix it, and he gave his last money to go to District 12, which goes into another thing, which is that Coryo actually invested a lot into Lucy Gray, first with trying to help her survive in the arena, sometimes even cheating and using the ways that were not really allowed, and honestly putting so much into them after the Hunger Games as well, by giving his last money to be with her and making the sacrifice of going to a worse district. The more that we feel like we invest our time, energy, emotions in a person, the more we tend to like them. So if you want to use this in your life, it doesn't have to be as drastic. Just if you're going on a date with someone, maybe ask them to come closer to where you are, which is a little manipulative. So I would just say that if you like someone, it can be pretty good to ask them for a small favor, like helping you out with a math problem for a class, or even something smaller than that, because them doing that for you is going to make them a little more invested in you. And one of the biggest things that I feel like was central in Coryo's and Lucy's attraction was that when Lucy saved Coryo, Coryo saw something in Lucy.
Lucy Gray could have run, but she saved me.
That he lacked in his life. We saw from the movie that Coryo and Tigress grew up with their grandma, and Coryo constantly had to sacrifice things for his family. He was taking care of his family a lot. We can see him not eating in the morning, being like, oh, grandma should have it.
Did you find the potatoes? I boiled them for the starch, and you should really eat something today.
Save them for Grandma.
His grandmother also seemed emotionally distant, so both Coryo and Tigress didn't really get that much emotional care in their life. So something that he has always lacked in his life was someone actually caring for him. And a lot of you can argue that Tigress always did that. She did, but maybe he didn't really see the extent of it. And at the same time, he grew up in an environment where he was used to people just honestly throwing each other under the bus for their own survival. Everyone was incredibly selfish.
Which one of you actually wrote it?
Well,
I was inspired by Coriolanus yesterday, of course. But the sponsorships, those were all mine.
Clemmy.
And Lucy Gray acting in a selfless way, Lucy Gray actually showing that she cares and saving him and choosing someone over herself was a big surprise to him, and it also showed him something that he lacked in his life, which was someone caring for him. And one of the things that affects people being attracted to someone is that if you see something in that person that you feel like you want in your life, if you see something in that person that you feel like you lack in your life, you tend to be more attracted to that person. Now, here's where the kind of controversial part is, because there's the question, are you actually attracted to that person because you like that person? Are you attracted to the way that that person makes you feel, or how that person feels something that you're lacking in your life? And that's something, if any of you guys have thoughts on, then definitely leave them down below in the comments, because I'm really curious. But I'm going to leave you guys with that question, and I hope you guys liked this video. I hope I did an okay job at analyzing this, because this is my first kind of like psychoanalyzing the movie type of video. So, and if you want to know more psychology hacks to get your crush to like you, then check out this video right here. If you want to watch another movie themed video, then check out this video right here. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!